What's up, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube Stand-Up TV here, and welcome to the first ever episode of Interstellar Podcast. Joined with me is TechGladiator. TechGladiator, how are you doing today, man?
I am doing fantastic.
What's with the voice? This is a geek podcast. We're going to talk about video games, comic books, movies, whatever we feel like talking about. Once a week, our ships are going to meet out here in the vast reaches of space, and we're going to talk it out for your guys' amusement. How's that sound to you, Tech? Sounds pretty good.
Sounds great. I tried to stabilize the ship here a little bit. Okay.
Anyway, first topic. Let's get into it, man. The topic that I think we should discuss is who is TechGladiator, because you're going to be a regular guest on this YouTube channel now. And the reason I asked you to come onto the YouTube channel is because, well, we share a lot of the same people. As far as the people who watch regularly over at Twitch and on YouTube. But my YouTube audience is a little larger, and I thought it would be cool for us to do this together and try to make the channel even larger. So tell us about TechGladiator and what kind of content we can expect from you, what you're into, and all that sort of stuff.
I feel like I'm having a job interview.
It's not a job interview. It's a.
Okay. I always hate it when people ask me about myself, because I'm not very interesting, really. My life isn't that exciting. But I'm married. I have 5 kids. One of them's now grown up, getting ready to move away. And then I've got my stepson, just started his senior year of high school today. My oldest daughter, she's already in high school. She's still got a couple more years. She starts her junior year this year. And my youngest daughter just started high school. Or no, actually, no. Yeah. I think she either is in her. Yeah, but anyways. And then my youngest son just started middle school today, his first day of middle school. So it's just a lot of life-changing stuff going on and everything. And as far as like the kind of content I'm wanting to do, as far as my YouTube content pretty much primarily has been, video game related and everything, because that's pretty much how I started on YouTube, was making, basically how I started was called Duty Black Ops theater mode, and the ability to like make clips from your matches and stuff and then upload them directly to YouTube and everything. And that's where I started my YouTube channel, is exactly from doing that. That's why if you look at my channel, go all the way back to my oldest stuff, it's all like little short clips from Call of Duty Black Ops and everything, because it was just an easy way to do it. I didn't have a capture card or anything like that, or even a really good PC for doing stuff like that. So there's no like commentary or audio. It's just all clips from the matches and everything. So that's pretty much how I started my channel and everything. And then, of course, Twitch, came along and everything, and that's where I actually got to like start being on camera with live streaming and actually talking, during the gameplay, and then being able to transfer and get that stuff over to YouTube. So I started basically kind of making my YouTube where I guess a depository for my previous streams after they've been run, put the recordings on YouTube and everything like that. But I'd like to do, different kind of content. Still probably mostly gaming related, but maybe, other kind of things too. It kind of really depends. I mean, if I had the time, there's a whole lot more things I'd like to do. But I'd like to do things that are specifically for YouTube again, like I used to, instead of just, cut and paste what I've got on Twitch onto YouTube and everything. So I'm not sure, like, specifically the direction I'm wanting to go on YouTube with, the kind of content I want. Probably a lot of it will still be gaming related, maybe playing some games that I'm not playing on Twitch. Like, right now on Twitch, I'm pretty much focused on Skyrim. So maybe, like, do some videos with playing other games than what I'm playing on Twitch right now. Maybe with commentary, might not even have anything to do with the game I'm playing, talking about something else while I'm playing it.
One of the things that I know you for, and I think wonderfully of you for, is you're a huge comic book fan. Matter of fact, you're wearing an X-Men shirt right now, I think.
Well, actually wearing the Hulk.
It's Incredible Hulk and the Wolverine.
Yeah,
there you go. So tell us about... do you plan on maybe reviewing comic books or talking comic book history or something like that?
Oh yeah, that would. I mean, I don't have nothing in particularly planned per se, but I love comic books, and since I was a kid, I've always loved talking about comics. Awesome. You just get me to the right person that wants to talk comics, and yeah, we can go. We've done. I mean, me and you, I think. You've gone, for long periods talking about comics, I think, before,
Absolutely.
Haven't we? Yeah.
Matter of fact, why don't you, like I said, the viewers may or may not know. Tell them what kind of comic books and what kind of movies and what kind of games you enjoy. Give us a little bit more background about you.
Okay. Well, I primarily like superhero comics. I maybe get a little bit here and there, maybe into non-superhero comics, but to me, primarily, and the reason why I got into comics in the first place was superheroes. So, for me, comic books is the medium of superheroes. When I was growing up, superheroes weren't so big, in movies and everything. I mean, you might get a movie here and there occasionally, or something like that, maybe a cartoon or something, but if you were into superheroes, comic books were really the only place really to go to get a regular, ongoing, consistent, entertainment related to superheroes. So, and the superheroes that I liked, the ones that I grew up with even before I started reading comics, were the ones that were on TV. Like Superman, Batman, the Super Friends. The Incredible Hulk TV show in the 70s had a huge impact on me. And, I didn't know anything about the character really from comics or anything, so everything I knew at that time was really just from the show. And then in the early 80s, when I actually started being able to buy comics on my own, I started with DC because, Superman, Batman, always loved them since I was a kid. I still love them. And so I started with Superman and then went to Batman. And then my first ever Marvel comic was an issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. I don't remember the exact issue number, but I know in the story it was drawn by John Romita Jr., and it had the Mad Thinker in it as the villain, and Spider-Man was having to fight one of his robots that he controls with his mind, and there was just something different about it than the DC comics. It was just so different, almost came out of the page or something, it was just way different. Not that I didn't like, the Superman and Batman comics, but it was just more dynamic, I guess I would say. Just really pulled you in. It was like, wow. And that hooked me on Marvel from there. I still picked up DC here and there just because I like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and the Flash and stuff like that, and some of the other Justice Leagues. But I didn't buy them on a regular, consistent basis. And basically, and then I got my first issue of the Incredible Hulk, and I was almost hesitant to buy it at first because I knew the Hulk from the TV show. And this comic was very strange for me being, I was about 9 years old. And it was very strange because the Hulk on the cover was wearing a lab suit, untorn, unripped. And I'm like, and he's fighting this electric monster called Zax. And I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't his clothes ripped up? That's stupid.
Well, the Hulk in the comic universe is wildly weird, and it's 100% total different sci-fi. Yeah, whereas the TV show, of course, had to be grounded for some sort of reality. But I remember the same thing, man. I was the same way with comics. Love Superman, love Batman, but I gravitated more towards Marvel because at the time when I was growing up during the 80s and the really in the late 80s and the early 90s when, you know, I was getting into reading and things like that. X-Men was huge for me because that's back when the team was split into two teams. You had the uncanny team, the gold team, if you will, and you had the blue team from the normal issue X-Men, and you had pretty much 4 X-Men books. And so you go once a month, buy all 4 books, and to have that continuing universe. And DC wasn't really doing anything like that at the time. So,
right. Yeah. Exactly. And but at the same time, that issue really introduced me, and it was actually surprisingly, it was the perfect issue to introduce me to the comic book Incredible Hulk, because even though I was thrown off by the cover, because and it wasn't really the sci-fi-ish thing with the Zax, it was really just him fully clothed without torn clothes. But there was a reason for it, which as I read the comic, it explained it. At the time, Bruce Banner was in control of the Hulk, and him and Reed Richards had developed clothes that actually stretched when he turned. So there was an explanation. But the other cool thing about it is that this issue retold the comic book origin of the Incredible Hulk. So it's the first time I actually read the comic book origin of the Hulk, and then it basically explained. It had a summary of his whole saga up to that point. So it was like I just like hit the jackpot or something on luck, because it was the perfect issue to start. And so then from then on, I like collected Hulk forever. I mean, like from the 80s into the 90s into the early 2000s. It wasn't really until the mid 2000s that I kind of started, you know, not being able to keep up with it so much, but that was Marvel was the one I pretty much stick to, and out of all Marvel, if there was only one comic I could buy, it was always the Hulk.
I like both universes. I like the DC universe and the Marvel universe.
Yes.
What I like about DC is that the villains are the most interesting thing about the DC universe, more so than the heroes to me. Whereas Marvel, the interesting thing to me in the Marvel universe is that they're tackling these more of like everyday issues. Like when you read a Marvel comic, it's like an everyday episode. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you felt the same way, but that's how I felt about it growing up.
It was basically what I liked about it. It was, and I know guys aren't really associated with soap operas and watching soap operas, but basically they were like a guy's or maybe a boy's, a kid's soap opera. You had a reason to want to keep coming back, because it wasn't just one issue and then the status quo was the same at the end, at the beginning, and then there was like continuing things that would, you know, things mattered from one issue to the next. What happened in this issue could matter like a year from now, it could matter in the next so many issues. It just, there was some importance to, you know, keep it on with it. It wasn't just individual stories. And at the time too, DC did that too, but it just wasn't the same. Well, Marvel had a whole different way. But anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. That's right. That's maybe another topic. But yeah, it was just Marvel was just more dynamic. But I loved Superman and Batman and some of the other big. Basically, all the DC heroes that were in the Justice League or in the Super Friends in the 70s in the cartoon, I was familiar with them, so I enjoyed, you know, reading about them. But I wasn't always able to stay with them like I was with like Marvel and especially the Hulk and everything. And Spider-Man, of course. I love Spider-Man.
What about